Good morning, Mr. Castillo. So welcome, it's Friday. Woohoo, we made it. End of week 2. So for today, I wanted to do a review of our TP-cast analysis method. I have another example to show you, another poem. And so that way you have an idea of what I'm looking for when all of you go ahead and do your, hello, Miss Maria, when you do your analyses as well. And so you can analyze poems from other poets, other authors, and of course you can even do an analysis of your own. Maybe you're writing a poem and then you're like, okay, I think this is done. And you review it, you're like, wow, look at all of the information that I have in my own work. We're also going to do a short presentation on different poem styles. If I'm going a little too fast or you need to review that information, I'm going to show you, I did a pre-recorded lesson on that presentation, just in case we ran out of time today. So that's available. I'll show you where that is in Schoology. And I also want to review the instructions and some of the assignments that are due at the end of today at 11:59 p.m. And so that way, in case you have a question about what you need to do, you can ask it, and that way, you're not at 11:30 at night panicking or, oh, Miss Molinat, I have questions. During the day, today is your time for questions, and so that way you have a nice weekend ahead of you. So I can already tell you that this weekend, you do not have any homework. You've had a lot of work this week, so you'll have a nice time to relax and enjoy your weekend. So let me start sharing my screen. Okay, so quick review of the TP cast. We went over a lot of the elements. Just kidding, I want to share something else. Please share. Okay, so we did, okay, so the poem that I want to show, I'm hoping that everybody can see this poem, I Am Nobody, Who Are You? That's the poem we should be seeing right now. So we didn't do this one yesterday with our review, but this one is a good example of our TP-cast method of analysis as well. So whenever you do an analysis, I want you to have a version of the poem that is blank, that is empty and clean, so that way you can see a difference between your start, before you start your analysis, and after, so you can see how much work that you have done. So let's go in order of our analysis. So we start with the title, the first T. So in this case, this is the title. So I am nobody, who are you? I'm going to start my analysis. So here's the first part of my analysis. So I said, well, technically a nobody is a somebody. And since somebody is clearly the person talking, so we have somebody asking a question, but they don't take themselves too seriously. But because they're asking a question, they are curious to see if there is someone else like them. So that's what information I get just from the title. So now my next step is to actually read the entire poem. So here we go. I'm Nobody, Who Are You? By Emily Dickinson. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. They'd banish us, you know. How dreary to be somebody, how public like a frog, to tell your name the livelong day to an admiring bog. That's the whole poem from start to finish. Now it's my job in the analysis to make a paraphrase. Now I know this poem very well. I'm very familiar with it. So when I made a paraphrase, I was like, okay, I got this. But if it's a brand new poem to me, remember I gave you the idea that your paraphrase can maybe come a little bit later after you've done some more of the steps of analysis. And that's okay. I care about your finished product. But if you have to go in a different order, that makes sense because you need more information in order to do your paraphrase. So that poem turns into, paraphrase, P. I'm not important. Are you important? Because if you're not important, then both of us are not important together. Excuse me, but we need to keep it a secret. It would be so boring to be somebody without privacy and then to be on display for everyone to see. So when you have access to this poem and my analysis, you can go back and forth and you can see, yeah, they're pretty much saying the same thing. But those are my words to say the same thing for the poem. So the next part of our analysis is C. So we're looking for elements like rhyme, imagery, metaphors, and shifts. And the easiest way, like I told you, is if you're going to do it digital, you can look at this PDF as an example. If you're doing it in a digital way, it's a good idea to have separate pages to show each element. If you're going to write it out in a notebook or a piece of paper, you can show everything at one time, like I did here. So this is our poem Harlem. So you can see I did squiggles, stars, I circled, I added other notes. That's fine. And you just take a picture of that. Or like I said, digital, it can look a little more like this. So the image element. So I highlighted nobody, pair of us. So if you say nobody, that usually has a pretty strong image. You think of maybe somebody with no face or an empty room. That's a very big image. There's a pair of us. Ah, but now they're saying there's two people who are nobody. So that changes the image. Banish. So banish has the idea like back in history where people would be sent away from a city or a town. So you have to get out. The authorities say you leave. Dreary. Dreary has the idea that something does not have sun, it's a lot of clouds, maybe rain, it's cold. So that's a very specific image. Public. So now that all of us are doing social distancing or in our quarantine and social isolation, public may have a very different image to us now than it did when we were still going to school and everything was normal. A frog, so that has a very specific image. You think of a very particular kind of frog in your mind. And an admiring bog. So a bog is a type of swamp. It's a place with a lot of water and trees, and it's very wet. And most people may think it's not very not a very nice place to be. So that gives us an image as well. So it's usually where frogs and insects and fish and everything live. So that's a very specific image. We have our metaphor and simile. So in this one, we have that idea, that location of a swamp, of a bog. And so can a bog admire something? No, it can't. So that's two things that are similar that are being compared together. So we do have a metaphor. And we also have like a frog. Oh, I forgot to highlight that, but like a frog is also a simile because we have our word like in there as well. So I have to fix that. Okay, that's metaphor and simile. So we have one metaphor and one simile in there. Rhyme. We do have some rhymes at the final part of our lines. So who are you? Nobody too. So we have that oo sound. And then like a frog, admiring bog. So we have og, og. So we have a rhyme at the first two lines and a rhyme at the last two lines. We do have repetition. So we see the word nobody two times. So there's technically three if you look at the title as well. So this poet wants us to know that the term or the idea, the image of nobody is very important. That's something we have to keep in our minds. And then later we have the two hows right on top of each other. So they're saying, oh, they'd get rid of us, and then how dreary, how public. So usually if you start doing like a list of something and you repeat, that gives it more weight. It's a little bit more profound. And we do have a shift. And of course, we talk about shift later in TPcast as well, but we might as well highlight it and show where it is. So at the beginning of the poem, we have I'm nobody, we're you. It's kind of like an introduction of the nobodies. And then all of a sudden we shift and say, wait, there's two people. So now we have a different speaker. So we have our speaker is alone, and now there's somebody that the speaker can talk to. And they say, okay, but we have to keep it a secret. And then we shift to an explanation of how bad it is to be somebody and how public, how boring, and that your audience is a bog, so it's not very good. So we kind of have, we're going, we have a shift, and then, oh look, we have another shift. Okay, go back. Okay, so we have that. And here we go to A, the attitude. Sometimes this is a little hard, but you have to think about what you have in your paraphrase and those other elements like imagery. That helps us with attitude as well. So the attitude of the poem is curious and silly and light-hearted. It also has some tone of teasing and feeling like being popular, being somebody is not a desirable thing. And as we looked at, we already highlighted our shift, but now we are explaining it with our complete sentences. So there are two shifts in the poem. The first one goes from introductions of seeing if there are two nobodies, and then there is a confirmation that yes, there are two possible nobodies. The next shift goes from keeping a secret to explaining how terrible it is to be somebody. So I was able to explain the two shifts using my words. Our second to last T, which is title. So again, the title is about someone talking about themselves. Yes, they do want to include someone into their perspective as well. So the first half of the title is I'm nobody. And then it shares, are you nobody too? So we have that shared experience there as well. And then our last T, sometimes I think this is the most interesting one because we've done all of this work, we've read, we're paraphrasing, and then we're showing all of these elements that the poem contains. And now we get to summarize. This is like our summary, our conclusion with the theme. We're bringing it all down to one word or one idea. The theme of this poem is privacy, because the first speaker wants to remain as no one. However, there is also a theme of friendship, because the first speaker wants to let someone know that there can be many nobodies. So the idea of this poem is that yes, you can be a nobody, but you can be nobody with someone. So you can have that companionship, that friendship with somebody else. Now, if you see, I have my clean version. I have my full analysis, complete sentences, complete thoughts. I'm explaining everything. And then here are some notes to show about the elements that I found. So again, if you are doing a electronic version of an analysis, this is something similar to what I want to see. If you have another method of organizing this, you can do that. But what I care about is you have to have some version of your explaining each step. I like this table just because it's a little more organized. Everything goes together. But again, if you have a different way, maybe you want one per page or something like that, go for it. But I do want to see that you are doing a complete analysis. So this analysis is Schoology as well as the Langston Hughes one. So let me go ahead and show you Schoology. So week 2. So here's a PDF of the Harlem TP-cast analysis, and here's the exact same PDF that I just showed you, I'm Nobody, Who Are You? What I also did is I included copies of poster that I made. You can download them and you can rotate. So I did a poster, so there's the original copy. And then I also did my notes for connotation on here as well. There we go. Show preview. Sorry guys, I have to jump around to show you everything. Okay, and then I rotate it. Aha, here we go. So these are my notes. So I have symbols for little star for image. I underlined in blue for metaphor. I did purple squares for rhyme, red circles for repetition, green brackets for simile, squiggle, so orange squiggle for attitude, and purple arrows for shift. So now this is part of my analysis. and I show the full analysis in the PDF where I explain all of my reasonings and all of my ideas. But this still helps us because look at all the information that one poem can contain. And so you have copies of these available to you in Schoology as well. What time is it? Stop sharing. I need to take a quick pause. So I would say go ahead and open Schoology if you can right now so you can take a look. I'm going to show something right now, but one of the principals is asking me a question, so I have to double check something. But in a few minutes, I'm going to go over the poem styles presentation. And so that way we have an idea of the different things we need to do for our work that's due today. I already saw some questions yesterday from some of you. Okay. I apologize for that. So. Oh no, the internet's taking forever. Okay. So that was a brief review of our TP cast. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you a presentation about the different kind of styles of poems that we have available to us. There are a lot of styles, but we're only going to worry about a couple of them. I'm sharing file. Good. And this presentation is available to you, like the actual PowerPoint. And I also did another quick video so that you can watch the video again as I'm going through the PowerPoint. So the first style is called free verse. So the poems, the Rose that Grew from the Concrete, Harlem, and I'm Nobody, Who Are You? Those three are in the style of free verse. So it does not use consistent patterns, rhymes, and there's nothing really musical about it. It's just normal, like how we talk in normal conversations, which if you think about those three poems, that is true. There isn't any kind of meter, or it doesn't have to sound a certain way each time. It just flows and it's more natural. The poet can give his or her own shape to a poem, however he or she desires. So if they want really, really long lines or really short ones, that's their decision as the artistic person. However, free verse allows poets to use connotations, so things like our rhyme, metaphor, repetition. So they can use these things to get the effects that they want. They can use these elements in order to help us as readers to create images or feelings. So again, we have those examples that we have access to in our presentation and in Schoology. All of those are free verse. Another is acrostic. I think with my class and Mrs. Spears for English 1, they should be kind of familiar. So an acrostic poem is one in which the first letter of each line spells out a word, a message, or a theme. So here we have F-R-I-E-N-D, so that spells friend. So that is now the theme or the message of our poem. And so each word that is horizontal has to relate to this message or this theme. So we have funny, real, interesting, enjoyable, nice, and delightful. So all of those things are related to a friend. I know a lot of you, my lovely students, love Minecraft. So here's a poem about Minecraft. So that's our theme, that's our subject. So that means that all of these lines have to do with Minecraft. So mining down block by block, I shall never ever stop. Each of us craft a pick, rich we shall become. After that, let's have some fun and celebrate till down goes the sun. So that has the idea of playing Minecraft with your friends. And we have Minecraft going vertical and the information going horizontal. Oh, I think I hear a question. It doesn't really have a title. That's a good question because the information, like the theme, is going vertical. You can, there's nothing saying that you can't have a title. That would be perfectly fine, but it's not an obligation. It's not required. Good question. But free verse, they traditionally have a title. Here's another one about friends. This one I like. It's about rainstorms. We don't have rainstorms a lot here in our area of the world. So when we have rain, it's like a very nice event. We appreciate them. So raindrops drip drop on my shoes. Wait, raindrops drip drop on my shoes, and more drops fall in ones and twos. I think of all my friends inside. Not me, I think. I shall not hide. Stormy weather makes me run to puddles outside. So much fun. On rainy days, I'll always be running around for all to see. Mud and splashes cover me. So this particular acrostic poem is a good example. We can already hear rhymes. We have like shoes, twos, inside, hide, run, fun, be, see, me. We have repetition with rain. And we have image with storm, not just weather, but stormy weather. Running around, mud and splashes. So we can already start to analyze quickly a poem like this. That's an acrostic about me. And when you have time after class, you can do an acrostic with your name. So maybe you are the theme. If your name only has a few letters, try adding your middle name. Or if you have your last name, or I know all of us use two last names as well. So we have the two surnames. Go for it. See how creative you can be using all of those possible letters. Or maybe you want to write a poem about a brother, a sister, a pet, a friend. Use that outside resource as a subject for your theme, and then you write about that person. The third style is a haiku. And so haikus are very particular. So a haiku poem is a short poem that only has 3 lines in total. So line number 1 has 5 syllables. Line number 2 has 7 syllables. And line number 3 has 5 syllables again. So it has a pattern of 5, 7, 5. And just a reminder for us that syllables, they are a single unbroken sound of spoken or written word. Syllables usually contain a vowel and accompanying consonants. So we have vowel and consonant. Sometimes syllables are referred to as the beats of spoken language. And so usually we can do like the beats, we count them out. You can snap, you can clap, you can move your head, whichever way you like to keep that beat. So a word that has 1 syllable is cat. So we just go like cat, water, water, computer, computer. Category has 4, category. So we have lots of different numbers of syllables that we can have for different words. So all of those are words, but some have 1, some have 4. We have some words that have way more syllables that are possible, but it's each of those little sounds that we have. And sometimes you feel silly because maybe you're doing your work and you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, da, 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 da. But that's okay. That's part of our process. I do the same thing. So when I'm writing a poem that's like a haiku, or I'm trying to analyze to make sure it's a haiku, I'm there counting or bobbing my head or doing whatever motion I need to count out syllables. So the lines are important. So here we have 1, 2, 3 lines. And let's count the syllables. This is the same thing, but I spread out the syllables here. So what is a haiku? 5. How do I write a haiku? 7. I really don't know. 5. So we have 3 lines, 5, 7, 5. Great, it's a haiku. And here we have our count, 5, 7, 5. In case they don't know, haiku doesn't have to rhyme, but it does this time. So a rhyme is not obligatory. It's not necessary for a haiku, but if you can do it, that's perfectly okay. There's no reason why you can't. To show your artistic expression in a haiku, you can totally do that. That's okay. This is another example of a haiku, but it also tells you how to write one. So this one's kind of interesting. So it's like a haiku within a haiku. I am the first with 5, then 7 in the middle, 5 again to end. So 575. But like we had a question earlier, something is missing. So the title is not necessary here. So our TP cast, that's 2 of our steps in TP cast that are gone, which is, that's okay. It's a shorter analysis in this case. So haikus do not have titles. And this is because the philosophy of a haiku poem is it's supposed to be very simple and brief. So we only have 3 lines, 575 syllables to say something, to share an emotion. So it gives us a lot of rules and a lot of restriction, but sometimes it's a really good challenge to use those restrictions in order to be creative. So this is a little video of somebody who's kind of writing a haiku in real time. We have time.
Hey,
you kind of fast forward it a little bit.
And in this video, I will be going over the process with you. The second line must have 7 syllables, and the third line must have 5 syllables. So 5, 7, 5 is the syllable pattern. That's basically it. Now, when you are creating a haiku poem, it is generally focused on a certain topic or a certain theme. So you can't just throw together a whole bunch of words and expect it to be a haiku. It has to.
So he brings up a good point. So for example, when you have your assignment and they say, okay, you need to write a haiku, it's your responsibility as English 2 students to think, well, what is my theme? What is my message? Like I said, maybe you want to do it about someone you know, or a situation. Maybe you want to do a poem about learning from home or the situation with the coronavirus. Or maybe you have a favorite musician or a favorite song. It's your responsibility to find a theme or a message, and then you start writing your poem from there. Oh no.
Hey everybody. Reading a haiku poem, it is generally focused on a certain topic or a certain theme. So you can't just throw together a whole bunch of words and expect it to be a haiku. It has to be revolving around a certain theme and maybe the way that things make you feel. Commonly speaking, haiku poems talk about nature and feelings and so forth. So I've created a very simple haiku poem as an example, and I'll be going over it with you. So we're going to start off with a beautiful day. A beautiful day. A beautiful. 5 syllables. For the next line, I'm going to put always drives the pain away. Always drives the pain away. Let's count the syllables. Always drives the pain away. 7 syllables. And the third line, I'm going to put that's all I will say. So we'll go ahead and write that's all I will say. Let's count the syllables. That's all I will say. 5 syllables, okay? So let's go ahead and read the haiku poem that I have created. A beautiful day, that's 5 syllables. Always drives the pain away, that's 7 syllables. That's all I will say. That's 5 syllables. And that's basically it. So just...
And he's right, that's basically it. So he had a theme of a rainy day. So he was able to find words to help describe the feeling and the image of this rainy day. And so of course, now it's going to be your turn in Schoology. I'm going to share that in a little bit. Here we go. To be a poet, you have the opportunity to try your creativity. So let us go to week 2. Look at all of the stuff you guys have done. You have been very busy this week. So here we have our PowerPoint of the poetry introduction and the TP cast analysis. This right here, poem styles, that's the exact presentation I just finished. And here, this leads you to a YouTube video of the same thing. I did a same recording of that lesson. So it's very similar. Hopefully I said the same things. And so now we have find a poem to analyze. So using the link to go to the Poetry Foundation website, you can start looking for a poem. Maybe you have a book at home that you like that has poems. Just find one that you like and that you can use your TP cast analysis on it. I will say it is okay if you find a poem in Spanish. So you can analyze a poem that is written in Spanish, but your analysis, your work needs to be done in English so you can practice. And of course, we're in English class. But if the content, the actual writing of the poem is in Spanish, that's fine. It's still poetry. Sometimes that might be kind of a help because you already know the image, the vocabulary is a little easier. And even if you don't know the word in Spanish, you have to look it up. Even better, we're building our vocabulary in Spanish as well, which is always awesome. So that would be your thing there. So for those of you, if you've already submitted it and now you have ideas from our TP cast review and you think, oh, you know what, I want to add more information, that's fine. You have until today at 11:59 p.m. to add that information. So here, in this find a poem to analyze, you're just finding one poem and you do one TP cast analysis. And now you have examples of what I expect with our Harlem TP cast and our I'm Nobody, Who Are You TP cast analysis. Okay, did not review assignments. Now, for the last two assignments, we have one where you become a poet. So you need to write one poem for each of the styles that we discussed. So one poem for acrostic, one poem for free verse, one poem of a haiku. So you are writing 3 poems total. But what I want to see are 2 versions of each. So one that is just the poem, it's very clean, it looks very nice, excuse me, and another version where it has all of your analysis. So it's it's going to look just like the images that I posted here. So you're going to have a clean version, original, and then the analysis, and you have your TP cast analysis. And like I said, if you write it out and you take pictures, that's fine. If you do it in a Word document or Google document, that's okay. But that's what I want to see. So 2 versions of each, acrostic, free verse, and haiku. And remember, the best way to start is think of the message that you want to create. Maybe your acrostic, you want to do your name. So now you know, okay, what words, what images, what phrases can I use to describe myself? Or if you're going to write an acrostic about an event or someone else, that's your theme. Same thing with free verse. You are a little bit more free to talk about your theme, your image. And your haiku, you have those rules, the 5-7-5, and those are your rules. I'm stuck with TP. Okay, Frida, I'll answer that real quick. You have those rules there, and so you have the opportunity to use those rules to help you build your poem. Let me see your message, Frida. Okay, so we're having some questions about connotation. So I'll review that right now after I talk about your project. I'll be right there. So, and then your project, that is due today. So for this project, write one poem using the style of your choice. Now, hint, hint, the assignment before, you've already written 3. So maybe you already have a poem, excuse me. So you can use one of your previous poems from the previous work. That's perfectly fine. So now you need to do the same thing. You have one clean copy of the poem, and then one where you do a complete TP cast analysis, and at least one visual representation of your poem. So for example, the poem, I'm Nobody, Who Are You? Let's just say that was your poem. Then maybe you want to do a visual representation of a frog in a swamp, in a bog, but maybe the frog is talking. I don't know. If your theme is friendship, maybe you want to add a picture and a collage of all the pictures of you and your friend. Maybe you have a lot of selfies together. Maybe there's a video of you and your friend together. That's a visual representation of your poem. So you can draw, you can color, paint, add pictures, be creative. So at least that. So the elements of this project are the poem, the same poem but TP cast, the analysis, and one visual element. So you've already done the work with the other assignment. So you already have a poem. So now you just select one of the same poems, or you want to write a completely new one. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. Let's see. I'll look at that right now. So here you don't have to do more work as far as writing like a fourth poem, but if you want to, go for it. You have the whole day to get started on that. So let's see. Let's have a question about connotation from Ms. Ruiz. So, because every time I see you, you make me smile. Okay, so here we have words like when I see you, I smile, unique, future, impossible. There's mention of some kissing, never ceasing to surprise me, and dreams. Okay, so all of that sounds pretty positive. So the connotation is giving us ideas that this is a very positive thing, that this person is important in your life, and that there's a lot of like really big feelings with that. So that's it's really nice. Now, something I want to go over is, let me see if I can find it. That the connotation step of our analysis, it has a lot of elements. So of course we have our TP cast steps, but the C, the connotation, it kind of has like another little set of steps. And that's where we get into our, let me see if I can show, into like the poster that I was sharing with you. So in this chart right here, where we have like image, metaphor, rhyme, repetition, simile, all of those elements are part of the connotation step. Because all of those things, because we have images, that affects our connotation, our understanding. When we have a metaphor, that gives us images and that affects our connotation and understanding. And even shift, we have an understanding and oh, just kidding, it changes. So all of those elements are part of our complete connotation. I hope that's making sense, Frida. I don't know what another element has. Okay, so all of those. So when we go through our presentation, we have slides for image, metaphor, rhyme, repetition, simile, attitude, shift. So all of that together, and maybe it doesn't have a shift. That's possible. There are some times where it doesn't have a simile. Those are just all of the possibilities that it can have. Let me show something else. I hope that's helping. But you can also say in your connotation, this poem has a feeling of love, of happiness, of being sad, of being scared. So for example, we said this Harlem poem, it has an idea of being kind of sad or a little doubtful because of all of this metaphor, rhyme, simile. And even if some of you select the same poem, for example, you may have different connotations. I gave the example of, I don't remember if I gave it for this class, but if you have like the connotation of like a dog, for example, I love dogs. So when I hear this, like a story about a dog, or if there's a poem that includes a dog, I'm really happy about it. But if someone has a fear of dogs, that connotation, that meaning is very different. So in this poem that is here, because when I see you, you make me smile. So that's a really positive connotation. One of the most important people in my life. So that also, so that's giving importance. So important is usually one of those connotations too. But so far it looks good, at least in that example that I can see. But later, Frida, if you want to stay in the meeting when we're done, we come back at 10, you can ask me more specific questions if you want, and I can give you more specific answers. That's perfectly fine. And any others of you, and we have today at 10, then we have at 1, I'm going to review all of this. And then at 2, of course, you can come back for conference as well. And conference is 11 to 12. So if maybe you look at your schedule that's available in Schoology, I have all that complete breakdown of the hours of the day. Let's see. So I looked at the chat, acrostic. Yeah, so acrostic does not have to have a title. It can, it's totally fine, but it's not obligatory. What other questions? Okay, that looks good so far. So of course, most of you have been doing the work as it comes, which is good. Don't forget you have your silent reading. Most of you did your poster. I need to catch up on the discussion for appearance versus reality. your Duolingo. Don't forget your end of the week vlogs. So that's due today as well, to kind of reflect on the week, something you learned, something that was interesting, something that was surprising. You have your access to your presentations. And look at the examples again. So if we really understand the examples, like the rose that grew from the concrete is an example in your presentation. Harlem is an example. Just the new one for you today, I'm Nobody, Who Are You is an example. Sometimes that we review examples to give us a better understanding of something as well. And then so you have the opportunity to analyze a poem, to write a poem, and then to kind of represent, to make a project out of a particular poem. In Duolingo, do I need to send a screenshot? Yes, please. I think, Maria, I can see yours on here. Let me see real quick. The screenshot always helps. That's kind of the easiest thing for me, but yeah. So I see yours. I think you're in the class as well, so I can see it. But yes, if you can send a screenshot, please and thank you. That is very helpful. I appreciate that. So that way I don't have to go to another tab in Google Chrome. I just stay in Schoology and I can grade everything really quickly. But good question. Because maybe you're doing Duolingo on your phone, so you can take a screenshot of your phone and you can upload that as well. Or I've had some students who like did their phone and they take a picture of the screen or an actual screenshot from the computer screen. So all of those options are okay. Yeah, we had good attendance this morning. Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording so the video isn't that long. I'm uploading the video from yesterday right now. It published really late, so that both will be available soon. So let me go ahead and stop.